The Works Minister responds to his party's rebuke of him, saying there was no motive behind his comments on radio. An Israeli national remanded to prison on charges of wounding with intent to murder. Guyana welcomes a UN referral of its controversy with Venezuela to the International Court of Justice. And the FBI has publicly challenged a push by Republican lawmakers to release a controversial memo. Thank you for joining us on Point FM's Nightly News for Wednesday, 31st January 2018. Welcome to those of you listening by radio, to those tuned in via Facebook Live, those via our app, and those of you joining us via our website, pointefmradio.com. I am Phil George. A day after he was scolded for publicly discussing the circumstances under which he stepped aside as a candidate in the upcoming general election, the St. John's Rural South Member of Parliament is claiming there was no motive behind his radio appearance on Monday evening. The Honourable Eustace Tico Lake, during his telephone conversation on Observer Radio, claimed he had no involvement in a letter that was penned announcing he was withdrawing as a candidate. His comments resulted in the Antigua and Barbuda General Secretary, Senator Mary Claire Hurst, chastising him for diminishing the high standards the party has maintained. Now the Works Minister is saying there was nothing sinister about his radio conversation, adding that his perception was the discussion would have centered on his recent surgery.
There's a relationship. So he has to step and call me a answer. He has always been in my corner supporting me, although we're on the political divide. And so he said to me, what about the long time, the interview that you're supposed to give me, blah, 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 and so forth. So again, I am thinking health, not politics, especially because of the Maxwell's initial interview that I should be I've been doing on Science Field. So everything in there, and then CJ calling me, telling me, let's talk about health. So then I switched back over to CJ and said, okay, I'm going to go on another radio station in about 10, 15 minutes to do an interview also again on the health situation. And so let's see what we can get accomplished during this time.
And whether promises made to him will be kept.
I've won the seat twice. I have one, well, based on the Constitution, I have 1 more year to put in. Now, what has happened, as I indicated earlier, that the Prime Minister and the Cabinet indicated to me, look, we will find work for you and we'll also make you a senator. If that's the situation, I don't necessarily need to run independent. As long as those promises are true and they happen, I don't necessarily need to run independent. But when you hear the language that's being used right now, how do you balance that? How do you believe what is being said? Or do you want to? It leaves the doubt in your mind, you know. And I need it because at this point in time, at my age, who's going to look at me and say, okay, let's bring this person in to come and work and so he can have a salary. We are 108 square miles in the size of Antigua and Barbuda, and as a politician in this environment, we know that is, unless you're doing public consulting, that is not how you're a lawyer or someone of that caliber. That is not going to happen easily.
That Works Minister Eustace Lake speaking earlier today on Talking Point. The St. John's Rural South MP concedes if he runs as an independent candidate, it will negatively impact the chances of the Antigua-Barbuda Labour Party retaining the seat. He claims that his utterances were because he was upset over the framing of the letter that detailed he will not contest the next general election. ABLP General Secretary Mary Claire Hurst on Tuesday revealed that the Gaston Brown administration has pledged to Minister Lake that once the party remains in government, he will not be left wanting. In other news, the Israeli man who was charged by police in connection with a wounding incident at Dockyard on Saturday has been remanded to prison. On Wednesday, that's today, 29-year-old Ilya Romanov of Israel appeared in All Saints Magistrates Court charged with wounding with intent to murder. He was denied bail and was remanded to prison. A committal date is set for 25th April 2018. Romanov is accused of using a sharp object to wound 28-year-old Ross Bloomfield of Dutchman's Bay in his neck during an alleged altercation in the dockyard area last weekend. Bloomfield was rushed to hospital where he underwent surgery. His condition is now reportedly stable. Still in police news, law enforcement officials have detained 3 men for questioning on Tuesday after they were found with cannabis and several pieces of camouflage clothing in their possession. Police carried out searches on 2 separate properties at Otto's and Kentish Road respectively and found several cannabis plants growing along with camouflage clothing. The items were seized and the men were taken into custody. Further investigations are ongoing. The Minister of Information and Telecommunications is of the opinion that Antigua Public Utilities Authority should not be the ones deciding where and when roads are dug up around the island. The utilities company is frequently criticized for causing damage to roads no sooner they are fixed. Members of the general public have called for better communication between the Public Works Department and APUA. Asked whether this is a matter of concern for him, the Honorable Melfred Nicholas, who has oversight for the Public Works Department in the absence of Minister Eustace Lake, says he thinks the decision should be made by the Public Works Department. He is advocating for better coordination between the 2 departments.
If I could say much, I'm very steeped in process, and I think the whole review of that process in terms of who is allowed to make the intervention below the surface of the roads, but more importantly, when that intervention is being made, is crucial towards us getting towards a particular solution. I do believe that the ultimate responsibility belongs to the Public Works Department, and the whole idea of delegation of that role and responsibility to another agency is problematic from my standpoint. But I would certainly want to discuss any review with the other minister with responsibility for the public utilities and the senior management in both organizations before we can make a determination. But clearly, it is a matter that cries out to be treated, because not only is it disruptive, not only is it clear to the public that it is uncoordinated, but I think it is wasteful.
Road, Anchorage Road, Old Palm Road and Valley Road North. Road construction is set to begin on February 15th. The governments of Antigua and Barbuda and the Russian Federation on Tuesday signed a direct funding arrangement for humanitarian financial assistance to assist in the rebuilding effort in Barbuda, which was destroyed by Hurricane Irma. Under the agreement, the government of the Russian Federation will provide $200,000 to finance activities aimed at the recovery of Barbuda. Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Charles Fernandez, who signed the agreement on behalf of the government of Antigua and Barbuda, thanked the government of the Russian Federation for the significant contribution towards the rebuilding efforts. The minister further disclosed that the contribution will be utilized to cover the cost of a number of activities geared towards revitalizing the education sector on the island, to include the repairing of homes of 20 teachers, the repairing of homes of 20 parents of students, and the purchase of school supplies and plumbing material for agricultural science. Non-resident ambassador to the Russian Federation, His Excellency Vladimir Vinokurov, in his response, stated that he is pleased that the assistance is going towards education, as the children are the greatest asset of any country. Antigua and Barbuda and the Russian Federation formally established diplomatic relations in 1990. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Rhonda Seeley-Thomas says she will support a ban on sugar-sweetened beverages in schools if it is implemented in Antigua and Barbuda. The consumption of sugary snacks and beverages by children and the effects it has on their health has engaged medical officials, many of whom are calling for such products to be made more difficult for children to obtain.
I know in some territories that has actually been done, where the sale of sugar-sweetened beverages like sodas have been banned in schools, and I would certainly support any policy that would be implemented to ban such sugar-sweetened beverages in school. And of course, if we're going to do that, we have to ensure that, of course, that the children do have a safe supply of water, which we're going to use as an alternative.
The CMO noted that the Ministry of Health will continue to focus on children since unhealthy eating habits are adopted from an early age.
Unhealthy eating habits, they start at a young age. So we are always advocating for targeting children, young children, what they eat, the sugary beverages. As I mentioned, we're working with PAHO to reduce the intake of sugar-sweetened beverages by possibly introducing a tax on those beverages, the sodas, the fruit juices that contain a high content of sugar. We're also working to reduce the salt consumption. A lot of the snacks that these children eat are quite salty. What we've done in the past as well is that we've tried to work with the food vendors who sell outside the schools and encourage them to make available healthy snacks and juices and water available for children. You know as well, we also have the school meals program under the Ministry of Agriculture, and we do work with them from time to time in making sure that the children receive a balanced meal.
Whether or not a ban on sugary beverages will be imposed on schools in the country will ultimately be decided by the government, who is in receipt of a report, as Health Minister Malwin Joseph explains.
The study has been done for Antigua and Barbuda by PAHO, and I think the report was presented to the government about 4 months ago.
Yes.
And it's now up to the cabinet to decide on a policy. So we have all the data. They have actually made recommendation. It's for us to decide what direction we wish to go.
Health Minister Malwin Joseph. Well, the opposition United Progressive Party says it has rolled out a youth empowerment plan, YEP, with the overall goal of facilitating the creative dreams of all young people who call the state home and providing a sound, feasible roadmap to entrepreneurship and some self-determination. The plan was revealed on Tuesday evening at the party's second national vision. YEP, as it is known by its acronym, is a 4-part pathway to youth empowerment. The 4 complementary programs will work in tandem to create a seamless process for the nation's youth to follow to both acquire skills in the vocational trades and, if desired, use the many opportunities made available to become entrepreneurs. Tier 1 proposes that each, the Enterprise Achievement Program, a 2013 UPP 2-part initiative, will be each and guarantees them jobs in the performance of various community projects as designated in their social agenda. In other words, such persons become the government's Angie's List. Tier 3, yes, young entrepreneurs set up for those who are business owning oriented. In conjunction with ABIA, the YES program will help persons navigate seamlessly the road of business plans, financing options, branding and marketing, to name a few. Output, skilled and business-trained young people ready to meet with financiers. And Tier 4, REAP, the Real Enterprise Assistance Program for the youth who have bigger dreams and want to function on the global stage. Senator Harold Lovell stated that the UPP has been and continues to be fully attuned and supportive of all aspects of youth endeavors, and the UPP government will create and maintain an enabling environment for the full expression of youthful exuberance, including entrepreneurship and innovation. The 2018 Inter-Secondary School Debate Series was declared open on Tuesday, with Ministry of Education officials encouraging participating schools to be thorough in their presentations as they seek to advance to the finals of the competition and ultimately claim the championship. Education officer responsible for secondary schools, Jonah Green, in declaring open the 34th edition of the competition, reminded students that activities such as debates can assist in their personal development. She encouraged them to be skillful in preparing, practicing, and presenting their arguments, making specific reference to the rebuttal segment.
Your confidence, debaters, your poise, and your self-esteem will improve. Your thinking ability will increase as you will have to think on your feet, especially with the rebuttal round. And you are going to have to provide a line of argument or reasoning that would have supported your line of argument. I challenge all of you here today during this 2018 series to work on your rebuttal, strengthen your rebuttal, learn the art of dissecting arguments and coming up with a line of reasoning that support that argument.
For the second year, corporate sponsor SugarPay will partner with the debate series. Chief Operating Officer Pete Richards, whose mother Hilda Richards pioneered the series, expressed his company's delight in being associated with the program. He views the debate as an incubator system that builds lives, professions and professionals who will go out and become politicians, lawyers, doctors, mechanics, utilizing public speaking skills and critical thinking. 11 public and private secondary institutions will participate in the 2018 series. The defending champions are St. Anthony's Secondary School. During Tuesday's opening ceremony, 3 educators were awarded for their contributions to the Inter-Secondary School debate series over the years. Nolda Carr, retired educator, Jackie Shannon, retired, and Philip Lloyd were described as dedicated to the advancement of the program. Well, still with education officials have added a new component to the Inter-Secondary School debate series. The inaugural Inter-Secondary School impromptu speaking competition was held on Tuesday and involved students who have signed up as debaters in the 2018 series. Ministry of Education officials have concluded that impromptu speaking can greatly enhance oratorical skills, an important element in building well-rounded students. A total of 9 pupils representing 9 schools participated in the preliminary round of the competition, where students were given 2 minutes to speak on various topics without the use of written notes. However, only 6 have advanced to the semi-finals and 3 will be selected for the final round. Those preparing for the semis are Vida Bitansis of St. Anthony's Secondary, Jacintha Reynolds of Antigua Girls High, Jeremiah Toussaint of Jennings Secondary School, Haley Carlisle of Trinity Academy, Jether Uzuma of Antigua Grammar School, and Orion Warner of Clear Hall Secondary School. That's a look at national developments this Wednesday evening. Guyana welcomes a UN referral of its controversy with Venezuela to the International Court of Justice. We'll have that story and more in regional developments. We'll also tell you what's happening on the international scene. Stay tuned. To the International Court of Justice. In a statement issued on Tuesday, the Foreign Affairs Ministry said Guyana has always held the view that the International Court of Justice is the appropriate forum for the peaceful and definitive settlement of the controversy, and is pleased that the view has prevailed under the process developed by both Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Guyana, he said, will not allow factors extraneous to the controversy to influence its referral to the court, but it will continue the advancement of peaceful relations with Venezuela, whose people are the brothers and sisters of Guyanese. In that context, Guyana acknowledges the Secretary General's suggestions for the immediate future. The ministry said it is to Guyana's credit that it has stood firm against Venezuela's attempt to reopen a territorial boundary settled and recognized for half a century before its independence, and done so despite the manifest unequal strengths between the two countries. It is to their national credit. President David Granger has said repeatedly that he believes the juridical settlement is the best way to go and is convinced that it will go in Guyana's favor. Guyana has been seeking resolution to the decades-old controversy in which Venezuela contends the 1899 arbitral award, which delineated the border between the two countries, is null and void. The OECS is forging new cooperation with the nation of Georgia an important geopolitical partner at the crossroads of Western Asia and Eastern Europe. On January 16th, an informal bilateral meeting was held here in Antigua with OECS heads of government ministers and other senior officials of technology and the Georgian Minister of Justice, Thea Sulakiani, to examine, among other areas, good governance via the Georgia Public Service Hall initiative. The bilateral meeting was held during the recently concluded 21st Century Government Summit convened by the Caribbean Telecommunications Unit. The Georgia Public Service Hall initiative provides over 300 types of services to citizens under the one roof at the same time, using the latest information and communication technology to deliver faster and more efficient government services. Director General of the OECS, Didicus Jules, said the Public Service Hall initiative was a Georgian innovation designed around the needs of its citizens to access vital government services and to obtain the vast majority of official documents they need in the one place, such as passport, construction permits, a marriage certificate to property registration. He said the initiative by Georgia is a good governance model that redefines and enhances the relationship between state and citizen by cutting red tape and improving innovation and productivity through efficient centralized government service delivery. He said the OECS aims to learn from the Georgian experience to develop a comparable regional e-governance program for OECS countries, whereby common and specific requirements of member states will be taken into consideration. A 50-year-old Welsh accountant has dramatically changed his plea and admitted laundering almost $2.5 million stolen from the Bermuda government while he worked on the island. Jeffrey Bevan admitted transferring the money into his bank account and using it to buy houses and flats, cars, and to fund his gambling habit. Bevan, who started working in Bermuda in 2011, was caught after he resigned as a payment manager for the Accountant General's office in February of 2013, a year before the end of his contract, and left the island to return to Wales. Hence, the prosecutor's decision to try him in Cardiff, the Welsh capital, rather than in Hamilton, Bermuda. The court heard he was a trusted member of staff, but prosecutors said his employers questioned some odd transactions before he left the island. Bevan pleaded guilty to 3 counts of transferring criminal property and 10 charges of converting criminal property during an appearance at Cardiff Crown Court. He had pleaded not guilty when the trial opened 3 weeks ago. The trial had been expected to last 8 weeks. The charges came after a 4-year police investigation that involved the Bermuda Police Service and the Regional Organised Crime Unit in Wales. In developments now internationally, the FBI has publicly challenged a push by Republican lawmakers to release a controversial memo which purported to release it on Monday. The 4-page memo, which was compiled by staffers for the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes, claims that the Department of Justice abused the surveillance program known as FISA to unfairly target a member of the Trump campaign. According to lawmakers who have reviewed it, the document purports to show that the agency obtained a warrant to spy on a Trump campaign aide after submitting as evidence the unproven Russian dossier. That dossier was compiled by former British intelligence agent Christopher Steele with money financed in part from the Hillary Clinton campaign. The committee voted to release the memo earlier this week, and Mr. Trump has until the weekend to decide whether to declassify the information for public release. The White House says a train carrying Republican lawmakers to a retreat has hit a lorry on the track in Virginia, killing the driver of the truck. 2 crew members and 2 passengers have been taken to hospital with minor injuries, an Amtrak spokeswoman said. No lawmakers were seriously injured. Arizona Senator Jeff Flake told CNN 1 person on the lorry was killed by Wednesday morning's impact. Utah Senator Mike Lee said that the garbage truck was cut in half. The members of Congress, who included House Speaker Paul Ryan, were on their way to their annual retreat in Green Bear, West Virginia, when the specially chartered Amtrak train crashed at 11:20 local time. Some train passengers were hurled from their seats by the collision, which happened near Crozet, Virginia, about 110 miles southeast of Washington, D.C. Jason Lewis, a congressman from Minnesota, was taken to the hospital for a possible concussion after the incident. 4 people were injured when the train struck the lorry, according to the Amtrak spokesperson. Finally, on international news, Hong Kong's lawmakers have voted overwhelmingly to ban the trade in ivory in a move campaigners described as a lifeline for elephants. A similar ban was brought in across mainland China earlier this year. Ivory sales will be phased out gradually in Hong Kong, stopping completely in 2021. Prior to the vote, demonstrators gathered outside Hong Kong's legislature with signs reading, "Do you really need ivory chopsticks?" Ivory from animal tusks, mostly those of elephants, has been traded in Hong Kong for more than 150 years. It is considered the world's largest ivory market. Wild Aid Hong Kong, a conservative group, says the former British colony had a 670-ton stockpile in 1989 when the global trade was banned. Only ivory dating from before that period is meant to be sold there, but campaigners say the legal trade is often a cover for illegal activities. That's a look at international developments this Wednesday evening. Stay tuned. The weather report is next.
Forecast for Antigua and Barbuda and its coastal waters are 10 nautical miles, and this is valid up to 8 p.m. tomorrow, Thursday the 1st of February 2018. A cool and dry air mass sitting over the northeastern Caribbean tonight and overnight will continue to limit shower activity across the islands tonight. Although some shallow moisture will move into the area tomorrow, the chance of significant shower activity will remain at moderate. So skies over Antigua and Barbuda tonight will be mostly fair. Tomorrow, partly sunny to cloudy skies are expected with a moderate or 40% chance of some brief passing showers. The winds will blow out of the northeast and east-northeast at 9 to 19 kilometers per hour or 5 to 10 knots tonight, and 15 to 30 kilometers per hour or 8 to 16 knots tomorrow. Moderate to locally rough seas are expected, with the combinations of wave and swells ranging between 1.8 to 2.1 meters or 6 to 7 feet. Small craft operators should exercise caution, and a warning is in effect for sea bathers against hazardous swells breaking on the coasts of the islands. Rainfall collected so far for the month of January up to 2 o'clock this afternoon stood at 54.4.
Nightly news for Wednesday, 31st January 2018. And now for a recap of the headlines. The Works Minister responds to his party's rebuke of him, saying there was no motive behind his comments on radio on Monday evening. An Israeli national remanded to prison on charges of wounding with intent to murder. Guyana welcomes a UN referral of its controversy with Venezuela to the International Court of Justice. And the FBI has publicly challenged a push by Republican lawmakers to release a controversial memo. That's the news. We thank you so much for joining us on this edition. On behalf of all of us here at Pointe FM, I am Phil George, wishing you a pleasant evening, and be sure to join me again tomorrow. Goodbye.
You're listening to 99.1 Pointe FM.